Hey guys, I'm Tim.
I'm Bob.
I am Andrew.
And this is the Board Game Rundown. And today we are going to talk about Inventions, the evolution of ideas. This is a Vital Lacerda with the art by Ian O'Toole. And we were sent this copy by Eagle-Gryphon Games for review. Wow. Like any Lacerda,
Whoa.
this is a heavy boy.
It's a
A
Lacerda.
big one.
This is my first one ever.
Oh,
Wow.
right
So
on.
it's an honor.
Congratulations.
I have On Mars
Yes.
Yeah.
in my house, opened,
Yep.
never played.
Should
Nice.
maybe feel less intimidating now that you've gone
Good,
through this one.
good,
Yeah.
yeah.
Maybe.
Maybe.
They do a really good job. They provide a lot of player aids. There is a wonderful video by Paul Grogan, which will walk you through setup and the play of a 4-player game. We used it for reference when learning. We did play like most of a game before.
A couple times.
That helps you learn everything. But then, get the full experience and everything. So in this game, really briefly, do not use this for rules
how
reference.
to play.
Yes.
But in this game, basically, you're going to have
different.
different kinds of workers and you're going to have different kinds of actions you're able to take. And then, so the workers are going to help kind of fuel those actions that you decide to take.
And that's it.
That's
Yeah.
it.
So
Yeah, you're
you
going to
can
place,
play Lacerda now.
you're going to place,
Now you're ready.
you're going to place one of your columns. You're going to do the action. And then there are also chain actions. There's going to be opportunities to then link multiple actions together. So very rarely when you place your pillar down and you to do one thing, are you really actually doing one thing? Honestly, you're probably doing 2, maybe 3 things.
Yeah.
I'd say
Maybe
usually 2.
Maybe even more though, potentially.
It's difficult to get
And
up
you're
to
kind of
more than
working
that, but-
together too, because there's like 3 evolutions of what's going on. You have to, one person is presenting an idea.
Right.
That person can also invent the idea.
Right.
And then somebody could make it better.
Can innovate.
Right.
It can innovate these
And
ideas.
then somebody that was involved in that process can share the idea. And
with
that's
the,
all.
with the world.
Yes, and that is all represented here on the board. There's player spots. So when you go to do an action, and that's where you're going to assign these guys. And so they are tied, their types are tied to the kind of card that you were playing down there. And then they go back to your board. There's all kinds of different nuance as far as like, when you invent, they move down into the world map. That's going to give you other things because moving around the world develops you culturally, and that's going to allow you to get other tiles.
Get culture tiles.
And then inventing stuff is going to get you the technology tiles, and then there's like economic tiles for doing different actions. And then through all of this, you are going to be updating your technology and your culture. So you're going to have one tech that you have access to solely, but then other people can send diplomats there.
Right here on this board, I think you can see it at the top here. These 2 final ones that we have are AI and solar cells, but at the very beginning of the game,
It's like
it was
fire.
like
Sailing,
language.
yeah.
We have them all here. Origin of language, transportation, control of fire,
Right.
the wheel.
Yeah. I invented that. You're welcome.
Yep, that was a good find.
But yeah, so that's kind of this whole thing you're doing as you play through all these rounds, and as you advance, you can mess around with turn order, you can mess around with influence. Again, it's how you chain actions together, and that's really kind of the secret sauce to this game. But again, there's a lot going on, but like all Lacerdas, tons of choices. Your effects, you got to plan for your future turns because you're blocking yourself out of different areas. It's very jumbled kind of description of play, but I kind of want to just get to our experiences with the game so that we can talk about it.
And once again, like you said, it's not necessarily jumbled, but there are how to plays that you should go watch
My
if you want to
description
learn.
was jumbled. Go watch how to play. They'll get you right through it.
Yeah, for sure.
And I don't feel like it was that hard to learn. But we'll get into that when we talk about our thoughts on the game. But first, we should go to one of our sponsors.
Okay.
This episode of the Board Game Rundown is sponsored by Weathervane Games, creators of Rahode, Age of Prophecy, an adventure dungeon crawl for 1 to 4 players in a fresh fantasy world. Launching on Kickstarter, October of 2024.
Vrahode, Age of Prophecy is the initial game leading into the huge 4-game series to follow.
Weathervane Games is working on 9 products, including the Vrahode 4-game series and 4 sets for their proprietary Harbinger 3D terrain system with which it is compatible.
To learn more, check out vrahode.com. That's VRAHODE.com.
Man, what a great product.
I was really excited about that one.
Yeah, that was me too. was pretty exciting.
I can't wait to use it on myself.
Yeah, mine should be being delivered any moment now.
Ding. All right, Bobby. So
Yeah.
tell me about how you felt about
Sure.
Inventions.
I've played quite a few Lacerda games. I really enjoy them. I love the crunch on a lot of these games. I don't know who writes the rule books, but they do a really good job at explaining how everything runs through and what everything does. Ian O'Toole does a great job with like the iconography and like so once you see something and you know what that icon means, it's the same throughout. Seeing it through in the book, seeing it on the board, on your player board, in one of the books, it means the same throughout. Things don't just change names or change what they mean. They mean what they say what they mean. And that helps a lot because you're going to need it. Because there are a lot of things going on. And one of the things that we forgot at the beginning, like when the first playthrough of this, was these tiles at the bottom of your board. As you're gaining these little influence tile thing, not influence tiles, like innovation tiles.
Innovation tiles that go on your
Yeah, they
personal
go on your
play
board.
board.
And then once you're done taking your action, doing all the stuff involving that board, you have to go through and then replace these because it's just a placeholder, so you don't have to stop your train of thought. You do all your other actions, and when you're done at the end of your turn, you're going to take this, depending on what icon is showing at the top. You're going to select one of these. These trays are fantastic. They have lids and
Yes,
everything.
always good.
Select one of those, and they're all explained in your individual player book, so you're not passing books around all the time. And you're going to put that at the bottom of your board. Then you have the opportunity to start building those and doing this little spatial puzzle on your player board, which is going to allow you to do chain more actions, get victory points at the end of the game, increase the strength of some of the actions you're doing, allow you to do things for a cheaper cost than normal. And so they're very strong and they're very important. So make sure you don't miss that as you're going through the rule book and learning what all the different actions are. There's a last page before the Epoch sum up that explains all that part about building these buildings and getting them out there. So make sure you pay attention to those and do those.
And to kind of echo what you're saying in regards to the importance of the quality of the rule book, both of you have a copy of this game. I don't. There were 2 rule books here,
Floating around.
but there have been games where we are digging through the rule book.
Oh, yeah.
This is the most complex game I have ever played. And whenever there was a rule book check, you guys
You're right where
found
to
it
go.
within 30 seconds to a minute,
Yeah.
and there was not a dig required, which was really cool.
Yeah.
I appreciated that, even though I wasn't taking part in that part specifically.
Sure. Very, very well written. Dual layer player boards. I love me some dual layer player boards. This not even like Eagle-Gryphon Games. It's just one of the things they do is they make
production values are
their
top
production
notch.
value is fantastic. I own a ton of Eagle-Gryphon Games at home, and it was great. Now, is this my favorite Lacerda? I would have to play it a couple more times to kind of really get my head around everything and to have a better end game plan to tell. But it's up there. It's probably around in the top 3. So it's
Bob taught it so well that I won.
great teacher.
Good teacher award.
Yeah.
Yeah, good teacher award.
It's not a great teacher because you only won by 1 point.
1 point, yeah.
So it's not a
Little
great
squeaker.
teacher. It's just
Sure.
a good teacher.
Yeah.
Sure, but so it's such a good teacher that not only did he win, but you lost. So that kind of makes it a
You
great
were
teacher.
you were so stressed out that I was going
stressed
to
out at
beat
the
you.
end. I was. I didn't
You
want
were
you beating
so
me.
stressed
I
out.
didn't want you beating me. And
You did not, and I came close.
You came very close. But no, it's fantastic. There's a lot of moving parts, so it's not for the faint of heart, right? But it is very well done, and it makes sense. You're like, oh, I have an idea for something. You're the idea presenter. And somebody's like, I know how to make that. They are now the inventor of that idea. And somebody's like, I can make that idea better. They're going to innovate it. And then all those people that know that stuff are going to be able to go into the world. The inventor is going to get the card, and that's just more actions that you
Everybody
can
gets
chain and link.
rewarded.
Everybody
Yeah.
gets
Yeah.
rewarded for
Everybody
participating in the
in the
actions.
project, yeah.
And so, I feel like it was just really well done.
Yeah, Andrew.
Yeah, so once again, this is my first Lacerda game, and it's always like eye candy for me. The price tag is a little intimidating, but I still find my way to I want to own high quality products that have a really good reputation. Don't walk into this game thinking I play board games, this is going to be a breeze. It's going to take a little bit for you to play through this game. But what's really cool about this is complexity does not equal duration. Sure,
Right.
teaching me for the first time, it took maybe 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
But just because this game has a lot of moving parts doesn't necessarily mean that this is a 4-hour game every single time. I said, so there's 6 rounds in the game. Round 1 is like a
Prelude.
it's kind of like
Intro.
oiling the tires to get them going, and then
Yeah.
round 6 is just scoring points. So the game is really 4 rounds, and on the last round,
It was so fast.
It was like 5-10 minutes.
The last round went so
And
fast.
what's cool about that is the more I become acclimated with this game, comfortable with the symbols, which I'm kind of bad at. I was having a hard time. I was always referencing the awesome player aids that they were
Awesome player
given
aids.
to us. I could see this being an hour and a half, 2 hour game, which with
2 hours.
all of
With three people,
2 hours,
2 hours.
Sure.
100%.
As long as there's not a ton of AP.
as long as there's not a lot of AP. Yes.
Now, I will say to your time comment, like I said, I've played multiple Lacerdas. My typical mantra or method that I go through is like I'll open the game up, I punch it all, I kind of set it up, go through the setup in the rule book, try to move some pieces around to get a feel for what they're talking about. So when you do look in the rule book and you say, oh, you're gonna move this, I have a clue, so it's not so it's abstract, and I'll spend 2 hours doing that. It won't even be a play of the game. It's just kind of like seeing what the pieces are, seeing how they go,
Kind of
then,
muscle memorying.
right?
Yeah.
And then the next time it's more of like an actual playthrough of the game. So it does take me a little while to actually get to where I'm able to teach a game, but yeah.
I mean, kind of everything these guys said, right?
passing over to you
The
now.
quality of the components and
beautiful.
everything,
It's
it's just, it's out of control. It's wonderful. I love it. Out of control. I mean that as a compliment. So yeah, don't be intimidated by the price point, because this is a game that is going to reward you on multiple plays. This is not a game you take over to your in-laws for Thanksgiving and you're like, hey, we can play Catan or we can play this, because they will never talk to you again.
Yeah.
But if you've got somebody that really wants like a nice, heavy, crunchy game, like this is what I would almost call appointment gaming, right?
Yep.
Like, hey guys, we're gonna play Inventions. I'm gonna have it set over. I'll be ready to teach. You
Watch
can watch
this how to play. We've talked about.
You can, if you want to speed it up, you can watch this how to play.
Yep.
And everything. But other than that, I'll be ready. And as long as, like Bob said, you don't have too much analysis paralysis, and we all did. I feel like we all did a great job.
Yeah, there were a couple of long terms, but it was like more figuring out like the minutia to make sure
And
everything was
even
done the
just
right
saying
way.
like I'm just gonna do this because I know I can.
Yeah.
Like I did that a few times and it was fine.
fine.
Even if I would have lost by 5
Well,
points, like it wasn't a deal breaker.
And I didn't
Just
have a
doing
problem
something.
with some of those times, because I know that once we solve that, it's solved, and then it benefits me in future
Right, future
turns when I
turns.
go to do that.
Right.
So it's like,
Yeah.
oh, good, Bob's got to figure out how that actually worked now.
Yeah.
So for me, it didn't feel bad, and it didn't feel like a lot of downtime, because
Right.
those are legitimate questions, because it's not asymmetric in a way where it's like, well, that really only affects Bob ever, right? Like, no, we're all like digging in and we're working. And the nice thing is we had an extra rule book, so we kind of
Helped.
sped that up a little bit. And no, I really appreciated this game.
And there's things you can do in between turns.
oh,
like
there's
you
so
can,
much.
You can
Right,
look.
because you're doing all
You're
this
doing all
over
the
here.
tile stuff at the bottom. Like it is okay. You've got things to do.
Yeah,
Do
does
not worry.
and
You
that's
are staying engaged.
Thank you for reminding me. That's a thing that I absolutely love, right? Because here's the thing: is if I've got some innovation tiles, and then I've got to try to decide what I want these to be, but before I can do anything else in my turn, that's a freaking nightmare. But because this is a placeholder, okay, I'm done. Andrew, you can start your turn, and now I can go through and figure these out. And as long as I've got them figured out before he needs to take anything, I'm not interfering with anybody else's turn. And I love that. I love keeping the game moving, because I do not mind really complex, crunchy games as long as they keep moving.
Right.
This felt like it kept moving all the time. I never felt like, oh, this is really dragging. What's going on here? Like, why is this? No, it was moving constantly. Board state is changing. You're paying attention to board state. You still need to plan your turns, and you've got to plan ahead, because you're blocking yourself out of certain actions, which
Right.
keeps it very interesting.
And one of the interesting things about that too is while you might block yourself on doing the action with just placing your pillar, a lot of times there's a roundabout way to take that action. It's
So
like,
many.
I can't do it by doing this, but if I take this action and send a person over to this tile, then I get to take the action I really want to take and do the sharing of the invention or inventing or whatever you
Yeah, I
want.
love
Which
that.
I don't think we gave enough. Once again, we did give a very quick rundown
Very
of
quick.
the idea of the game.
Sure.
But I think it is important to kind of explain this very briefly, if I may. Right? Like if you have three sized, or you have like a large pillar
large
and then
and
two
two
small
small.
pillars, you can only play a specific pillar in one of these 5 rows. And if you play here, then your other 2 pillars can go anywhere else except in that specific
one.
Correct.
in that specific row. So while this is a really complex game, by the second round, you really do only have 6 options to
Yeah.
look through.
It tightens it up.
And, you can choose from one of these 2, and, like you are not limited, or it's not like there's a million things you could do.
No,
At the end of the day,
it does.
you're choosing from 10
actions. It gets
actions.
tighter, and then and then again, like Bob was saying, it's like, okay, well, I really need to do this action. I'm blocked out of it.
Yeah. Is there any other way I can get to that?
But there are
Right.
so many ways you could still go and do that
Workarounds.
action, and that
Yeah.
feels really good.
Right.
Because we've played some other games. One of them that I just actually really just hate, and because you just get blocked out of stuff and you can't do it, and then you fall behind, and now you're stuck. And
That's
it's
a
like
really
it's a bunch of
easy
meals,
example.
and now I'm watching everybody else play the game while I do nothing but take my turn, so I don't like bog it all down.
Yep. So there's this action here. I forget the name of it offhand.
That's share
but
an idea.
Sharing an idea. So if you put your actual piece here, then you can do it. But Telegraph has a share symbol
so if
here,
I send a
and there
diplomat-
are other actions that allow you to place one of your workers there, and then you can activate that action, even if you were unable to actually come here
And do it.
Yeah.
traditionally by just taking an
It's
action.
so good. It's so good. And
But Mandy, you gotta kind of know the game a little bit to like find it. But then when you find it, you're like, oh my gosh, yeah, I can do that now. Yeah,
I can still do that.
Yeah, I can still do it.
And again, rewards you with multiple plays,
Yep.
and the combo of the actions, those chain actions, and just I get to do this, now I get to do this,
Yeah,
and
I
I
so
get to
want
do
to get
this.
up to 3 chain actions. Like, it's so hard to get all that in.
Yes.
Yeah, well, because you're spending that influence to do other things.
Yeah, to build stuff.
But again, rewards multiple plays. Try a different strategy,
Exactly.
next time. But man, I just really freaking love this game. I really did. I had an awesome time with it. I love it when a game that is this complex feels like it moves along at a nice pace. And Andrew was kind of behind in points for a while of the game, but then because he had set
I
himself
was the
up,
only one doing my.
Yeah, I totally forgot about those end game points.
he
I'm
had
like,
set himself up really well with those cards and was, he's making good moves.
Yep.
And we finished the final score.
I was
everybody's in-
miles away.
We were in 3 points.
Yeah.
But you were so far
like,
behind.
Oh,
but-
here's 20 for this.
But
or
the final
16 for
score,
that.
we all finished within 3 points, and it's like that feels good. I don't even care that I lost because it's like I was competitive.
That's good.
If I had lost by 20, but
Then
I'd
it feels
spent
bad.
and I'd spent the last hour knowing I'm going to lose by 20. It's like, well, that sucks.
Right. Yeah.
But
That's
like,
how I felt.
always being able to do stuff and the
Yeah.
turns feel pretty productive. Even if it's not the most optimal, it's like, well, I still did like 3 things. Like
Yeah.
it feels pretty good.
No one else is optimal. If you are feeling you are not being optimal, odds are other people are not making unless you're playing with Mr. AP.
Right.
Yeah.
Which then I just wouldn't sit at the table. with
Yes.
them.
Yeah,
yes.
I tend to not invite the super AP people to a game
this kind of game.
this
Right.
magnitude.
Yep.
Yeah.
But man, really satisfying experience. Really satisfying experience. Do you guys have anything else you want to add before we rate this bad boy?
Let's rate
I
it.
don't think so, yeah.
All right, Bob.
It's me.
Okay, let's move
How
on.
do we rate games at the Board Game Rundown?
Great question, Tim. So here's the board game rundown. We're going to give this game a score between 0.5 and 10. We're going to take all those scores, we're going to average them together, and that'll be the score that you see on BGG, Discord, things like that, where we might put up the score the board game rundown gave it.
Sweet. What's your score?
So I've been thinking about it. I really do enjoy this game. I don't think it's my favorite Lacerda, but it's going to be an 8.5. I'm glad I have it. I want to play it again. It's a game I'm going to reach for. It has dual-layer player boards. The inserts, fantastic. Everything goes back in the box. Everything has its own place. A place
Really
for
nicely.
everything. I always appreciate that in fancy bits. It's an 8.5 for me.
Andrew.
Sure, yeah. I feel you on that one, Bob. This is not a game that I can play with every single person, so it does have to take a point hit there. Like my perfect score games, I can play with you guys.
Anybody.
I can
All
play
right.
with
Sure.
maybe not grandma, but
Right.
like
More accessible.
grandma adjacent.
It's just more accessible.
right?
Yeah, Bob's grandma, just not my
yeah,
grandma.
Yes. How'd you know I played board games with Bob's grandma? All right. So there are, like, it gets limited, right? So, like, my ability to play this game as much as I would want to. But with that said, this is my first experience with the
Lacerda.
Lacerda game.
Yeah.
It was wonderful. I had a great time. I was thinking a lot. I was enjoying. Just the quality is fantastic. This is like up there with like my love for how well Stonemaier does their games.
Oh, right.
I would
Sure.
even say this is in a different realm of quality, but it's right up there with that. I'm gonna give it a 9 just because it does take that hit with playability, but this is a great experience. It's not just a board game. This is an experience.
I
give it a 9.
I put this up on the pedestal with the other really crunchy games that I love, because when I find one I love, I really love it. And yeah, you're right. You can't play with everybody, but man,
when you can,
I would be really happy to play this game again. And again and again. It's a 9 for me as well. I really love it.
If this were like a 4-hour game, then it would come back. It would come down to like an 8. Yeah,
sure.
but the fact that this can, once you get everything worked out,
you play it in 2 hours.
You can do it in 2 hours.
Yep.
Just because it's complex doesn't mean it needs to take forever,
Not
and
at
that's
all.
why I think it scores a 9 for me. So,
So if you take all of our scores and you average them together, it's an 8.8.
It's pretty dang good.
Pretty dang good.
I like
Man,
it.
this
like
game
it.
was really good.
Yep,
I really had a
totally.
good time. I'm really glad we got a copy
we
to
finally got to
play
it.
and got it to the table. So yeah, if any of this sounds good, obviously if you were looking for like a heavier weight game, this is going to be one. If this is not your jam, do not.
Or if you don't
Not
have
for
a
the faint of
group where
heart.
this isn't their jam and you just want to.
Well, there is a solo
There's
mode.
solo.
There's a solo
We
mode.
haven't done
so
the
if you're a
solo.
solo gamer, yeah, this could be for you.
So if you don't have the group, but you want to really get in there, try out solo mode.
There you go.
You know, maybe check out some reviews on the solo mode, see what it says.
So we haven't looked into it at all, so it's
Nope.
not necessarily an endorsement of the solo mode because, like I said, haven't looked into it.
But at this game,
But it does happen.
playing it at 3 and 4 players, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And that was even with I came out of sort of that struggle learning game with like longer,
Right.
playing time and like players struggling a little more to sort of grasp stuff. I
Right.
was still having a great time playing it. So
But it does make the waiting for your turn a little longer.
a little,
Yeah.
a little, and I don't know that I would always sign up to play with them, but
Sure.
like the current, present company was awesome. We were like jamming.
Thanks,
it was really good.
Tim.
So,
Wow.
present company and Bob.
Thank you again.
But anyways, this has been Inventions, the evolution of ideas. And for the board game rundown, I've been Tim.
Bob.
And Andrew.
Thanks for watching, guys.